Investing in NATO security is an America Last policy. All increases in funding should be investing in the United States of America's security and the defense of our own border. The United States overwhelmingly contributes more than our fair share to NATO for Europe's defense, and it's time for European countries to pay their dues.
Putin benefits from this amendment. Putin, a sociopath who is engaged in the most depraved behavior in our lifetimes, killing innocent men and women, targeting hospitals, targeting schools, showing no restraint. This Congress must stand with Ukraine. This Congress can never be seen as Putin's enabler. And that is what this amendment does.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to ask the House to support my amendment number 33, which will cut the $73 million increase in funding for the NATO Security Investment Program. This is simply keeping the NATO funding at the same level as last year's appropriations level. I think this is very important. While our own border is overrun by border crossers and deadly poisonous fentanyl daily, we continue to send hundreds of billions of dollars to NATO to defend Ukraine's democracy, even though they aren't even a NATO member nation. President Trump was exactly right when he called on European nations to put the required minimum of 2% of their GDP towards NATO defense spending. Most NATO countries still don't meet that requirement, and the U.S. ends up paying for 70% of the alliance's defenses. This is outrageous. The American people do not like paying for other countries' defense when our borders are overrun daily. The current 2023 defense expenditure for NATO countries has the United States at $860 billion. The United States of America's military is not meant to be the world's police. And as we find ourselves funding a war in Ukraine, when the United States' position should be pushing for peace, not paying for and not funding war and death of innocent people, we should not increase our spending and increase the amount of funding by $73 million more dollars to the NATO Security Investment Program. Mr. Speaker, I reserve.
Americans are not fighting and dying in Ukraine. Ukrainians are. And all they ask of the great country they admire and they want to emulate is that we help with equipment and training. This Congress must stand with Ukraine. This Congress can never be seen as Putin's enabler, and that is what this amendment does. That's what's behind it. The author of this amendment has already said she wants to give zero to Ukraine, so we know the motivation behind the amendment. Let's reject it. Let's stand with Ukraine, and let's make sure Putin gets that message loud and strong with a forceful voice here on the floor of the House of Representatives. I yield back.